worth kind of going through some of the things which are affecting the macro component, because those things aren't changing too much. Well, if we look at Kazakhstan, obviously some numbers came out there. I mean, what's your take on that?
Well, we have seen increasing COVID-19 cases in Kazakhstan over the last week, which is not always a trigger for relaxing restrictions as they've done. So you can expect from that they will be cautious going forward. We've seen cases of 1,500 a day type thing. 350 a day type numbers coming through. And interestingly, Kazakhstan, which is the largest copper producer in Kazakhstan, they've now had to close one of their very big mines near Karaganda, and that's the Kazakhstan copper porphyry mine. So I think they had 35 cases out of about 1,100 workers. So it became a little hotspot for them. They expect to have it back into production with new shift rosters and all of that type of thing in June. But still, that's a bit of a warning sign for Kazatomprom and anyone else in the industrial complex in Kazakhstan that with rising cases, the chance of becoming a hotspot does increase. So we've seen continued high cases in Russia, although it is tapering off over the last week. So I still see that as status quo. I don't see any reason for the Kazakhs to be popping the champagne corks anytime soon there, and I'd expect to see no reason why we won't have the Kazakh assets down for the 3 months that they're expecting, and we're a little bit more than halfway into that process now.
Right, okay. But again, as far as the macro story is concerned for uranium, that continues to be good news in terms of its reduction of the supply into the marketplace. Should we touch upon some of the other countries as well? Obviously, we've talked in the past about Australia, Namibia, and Canada. What are you hearing from them?
So with Canada, first of all, we are still seeing quite a high caseload in Canada. It is tapering off. In Saskatchewan, they're starting to open up again. I think they've put down 8 June as the date for restaurants and bars and gyms and so on opening up. But the Northern Territory still tells a different story there. So Laloche, the village or the settlement that Cameco highlighted in their earnings call, they are seeing some level of reduction in cases, but it's still a community in crisis, and there's little spot fires popping up around the place. There's another settlement nearby that's now had 35 cases in a First Nations settlement. So there just isn't any call for a relaxation of what Cameco has done there until we really see those First Nations communities come through this and get over it.
Then Australia, all fine there?
Yeah, it's almost embarrassing to say it being in Australia. We seem to have really come through this well. South Australia, which is the home to most of our uranium production with Olympic Dam, Beverley, they haven't had a case since 7 May. And I think the last case before that was a couple of weeks before then. So you can, and they don't have any active cases left in the state. So you can effectively declare South Australia free of COVID for now. I mean, of course, there's risks about what will happen when they open up their internal borders into other states. And there's the chance of, I want to say a second wave, but it's really still a first wave that we would be exposed to. Their main border is with Western Australia to the west, and we've also got things pretty much under control, just a couple of cases each week. So I don't see any prospects for COVID-related supply disruption or dramatic supply disruption at those Australian centres. I would just say there is still a lot of caution around interaction with Indigenous communities. So that is affecting the way that ERA goes about its business. So they've got different restrictions on their fly in, fly out and their drive in, drive out workforce to try and mitigate that. But the miners generally have adapted quite well now to all of these different ways of handling their shifts. So it's probably just in the irritant category now for ERA and for Olympic Dam.
Okay, and then your territory, Namibia, you're back to work.
Yep, Namibia's back to work. The mines in Namibia have been ticked through. That what they needed to do was present a COVID management plan to the Ministry of Health before they could resume full production. They've done that. What we're hearing on the ground is that neither of those giant Namibian mines are back to full production, but they are back at work. So that's a good sign for Namibia, which has had fairly devastating economic ramifications from the shutdown. When the shutdown's been very effective at controlling the virus, they only had 16 cases that they're aware of, and now there's a couple that have popped up in one part of the country. But again, if the testing is an indication of what's going on in the population, they've effectively eradicated it for now, but at some very dramatic cost. And I think it's really heartbreaking to see what that's done to a lot of the people there who are already on the poverty line or below. You'll definitely see a lot more impact on people from starvation and other related issues there compared to what they might have been facing with the virus itself. Into the longer term, that's going to promote a heavy development agenda and obviously incentivise the government to do whatever it can within its powers to bring on employment and development. So in the medium term, that's good for the uranium industry there as well.